Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits.
That's right. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover.
Tune in for your next great book idea. Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
And if you're enjoying what you hear, please consider taking a moment to subscribe, rate, like, and comment on any of the platforms you're listening from. This really helps support our channel and allows us to get better and bring you even more great content.
If today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase. Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community. So today we are taking a deep dive into some incredibly powerful source material. We're looking at select excerpts from the memoir Finding Me by Viola Davis.
Yeah, and these passages, they offer a really raw, unfiltered look at her journey. It lays bare the experiences that shaped her, from a really challenging childhood right through to becoming the artist we know today.
Exactly. And our mission in this deep dive, which is custom tailored for you, is really to cut through and pull out the most important nuggets of insight here.
Right. We want to understand, the deep roots of resilience, that constant battle for identity and worth.
And how personal history, all of it, the messy, the painful, the funny, the joyful parts, how it isn't just something to overcome, but it's actually the ground from which a life and a career are built.
That's well put. It's the foundation.
So let's just get right into it. The source material, it immediately drops us into Viola Davis's childhood world in Central Falls, Rhode Island. She describes living in a condemned building, number 128.
Yeah, it really sets the scene, doesn't it? The description is, it's stark, a fundamental lack of basic necessities.
Right. No heat, no electricity, no hot water, not even indoor toilets or showers.
And these weren't just inconveniences. This was a living situation officially deemed unfit for people to live in, yet that's where her large family was.
And the poverty. It sounds relentless. The sources talk about constant hunger, scrabbling for food, sometimes just sugar candy, even shoplifting because they had to.
Yeah, and basic things like washing clothes, doing it by hand in cold water. They'd either freeze solid outside or, and this is agonizing, smell of urine because of bedwetting issues that she says lasted until she was 14.
Wow. That detail, the smell, the shame tied to not having clean clothes. It just highlights how poverty wasn't only about lacking things. It was a constant source of social isolation, deep humiliation, even for a child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the environment itself added this whole other layer of, terror.
The rats.
Ooh, yes. The description of the rat infestation is just visceral.
Right.
Rats everywhere in the kitchen eating her dolls.
There's that specific detail, too, about a boarded-up tailor's business next door. Unstable wiring causing fires, and that directly led to the huge rat problem in their building.
Right. And the fear was so paralyzing they were actually afraid to clean because they thought rats were hidden under everything.
Can you imagine living with that constant physical threat on top of everything else?
And it was a big family, too, 6 kids at first, then others coming and going, all crammed into this totally inadequate space. Every single struggle was just amplified.
And stepping outside that incredibly challenging home didn't offer much relief, did it? Often it meant facing a whole different kind of battle.
No, exactly. The sources recount her being chased home from school, day after day.
She says it herself. She felt she was running to save my life. Hunted like prey by this group of boys, a Cape Verdean classmate, some white boys.
And they weren't just yelling insults. They were throwing things, rocks, bricks, branches, batteries, pine cones, real physical danger.
Plus the verbal abuse, which was brutal, called ugly. Black fucking nigger. Just awful.
And here's where the sources reveal something really complex within that trauma. She describes confronting the Cape Verdean boy, the one often leading the chase, pointing out the twisted irony. You're black too.
That moment of silence, she describes. That brief pause in the attack. It really highlights the deep, internalized self-hate, the racial complexities, even among kids doing the bullying.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And her mother's response to this daily terror, that's a pivotal moment. A real nugget of resilience.
Yeah, instead of telling her daughter to hide or run faster, she says, "Don't you run from those bastards anymore. You walk home. They mess with you. You jug 'em."
Jug 'em, meaning stab 'em, with a shiny blue crochet needle. And the source notes the needle wasn't even sharp.
Right, which emphasizes the power wasn't in the weapon, it was in the act of defiance her mother was teaching her.
Exactly. And the next day, she describes walking slowly, holding that needle, whispering the threat, and the boys, they lost interest. The ritual of the chase was broken.
What's so fascinating is how she reflects on this later. Years later, at 28, she thought her whole life was about healing that 8-year-old girl, the one left defeated by all that.
But her therapist offered this profound reframing. That girl wasn't defeated. She was, in the therapist's words, pretty tough. She survived.
That reframing is so key, isn't it? It shifts the whole narrative. It's not just about overcoming trauma, but acknowledging the strength that was forged within it.
Right. The sources kind of touch on this, using the hero's journey idea, being born into a world you don't fit, answering that call to adventure, which is really transformation.
Finding the elixir, unlocking your true self, and returning transformed. For her, it feels like survival itself was that first heroic act.
Absolutely. And survival wasn't just about the outside world. The sources also paint a really complex, often volatile picture inside the home, too.
Yeah, there's no sugarcoating the domestic violence. Descriptions of her parents fighting, her mother having physical scars from abuse.
And that terrifying moment at 14 where Viola actually had to step between her father and her sister, Danielle, risking getting hurt herself.
The violence was just an undercurrent, but the sources also show her father's dual nature.
Right. He can be this frightening figure, prone to rage, but then also have these moments of surprising warmth, happy drunk playing guitar, bringing unexpected joy with holiday gifts like chocolate or Easter eggs, Christmas trees, even getting a pool table.
And there's mention of his unique hate rituals, too, sort of guideposts for accountability, even if through superstition.
And her mother emerges as this incredibly strong force, described as a ferocious maternal warrior.
Yeah, fighting for welfare reform, getting arrested for it, speaking at Brown University with just an 8th grade education. Impressive.
And the sources give us glimpses of her hidden life, too, like falling in love with her gynecologist. It adds layers, She wasn't just a struggling mother.
It's also really notable how the sources describe the father's later transformation.
Yeah, he eventually stopped the rage binges, became this kind, loving gentleman, a devoted grandfather, walking to the hospital for his grandson, John.
His physical decline and death, and her handling the funeral arrangements, it shows the whole complex arc of that relationship.
And the sisterhood is another vital thread, isn't it? Huddling together for warmth in that cold building.
Supporting each other through school things like Dolores needing help with a science test.
Sharing those grim survival moments like catching rats with that red bat she mentions later. But also trying to find brief moments of joy like going to church or that time they tried trick-or-treating on the wrong night.
Her sister Diane is highlighted as a supernatural ally, the one who introduced that crucial idea of recreation, of reinvention, that you don't have to be stuck as the person you were.
And that idea, that spark of becoming someone else, it leads right into the moment the sources identify as the birth of her artistic calling.
Seeing Cicely Tyson perform.
Exactly. At age 11, watching Tyson transform on stage, playing characters from 18 to 110 years old, and immediately the thought hit her, I wanted to be supernatural. She saw her path right there.
And that calling took hold fast. The sources detail that skit contest at Jenks Park with her sisters.
Tiny budget, right? $2.50. Improvising costumes from their parents' closet.
Rehearsing with this almost sacred intensity, like it was Shakespeare, rewriting lines in that cramped, rat-infested closet.
And the winning skit, especially that line, I went in to save the fish because you're so damn ugly, it got them a standing ovation.
But she reflects that the applause, that taste of acceptance, it felt like a smokescreen. It hid her fear, that feeling of being an outsider.
And tellingly, the prize from that artistic win, a red bat, became a tool, a rat killer, connecting art right back to the harsh reality of her life.
So that moment, the skit win plus Diane's idea about recreation, it solidified this mission for her. Achieving, becoming somebody as a way to, as she puts it, detox the bad shit from her past.
Yeah, it wasn't just about success. It was about being reborn, shedding the trauma, a powerful early call to adventure.
But navigating the world outside her family, especially the education system, that also brought major challenges and highlighted these systemic biases affecting her identity.
Definitely. The sources mention specific school experiences, like a teacher's bias against her sister Dolores, which kind of ironically inspired Dolores to become a teacher herself.
And that teacher's poor explanation for why slaves couldn't read or write, just saying they couldn't, not explaining it, was a deliberate tool of subjugation. These moments show how history was taught in a way that hid the truth of systemic oppression.
Hmm. And then there was the daily deep humiliation of smelling of urine at school. Classmates refusing to drink after her, calling her dirty.
That incident where she lashed out, tried to rip Maria's dress, and got punished. It shows how she learned to create a phantom to survive, burying her real feelings under reactive behavior.
College, Rhode Island College, brought new hurdles. Feeling like a lost girl, hyper-aware of being one of so few students of color, less than 1%.
In what the sources describe as a frankly racist atmosphere, referencing Kappa Epsilon, that pervasive false belief that students of color weren't there on merit, undermining their very presence.
Yeah. But amidst all that, Jeff Perry's help was a crucial turning point.
Right. The sources detail how he encouraged her to apply for this national competition, got her the VHS tape, secured the $15 fee waiver, which was huge for her, and even helped film her monologues.
And that support led to her being chosen out of 1,200 applicants for an all-expenses-paid trip to Miami. A real moment of, taking flight.
It felt like a breakthrough, but then Juilliard. Elite training, yes, but it also forced her to confront her own brokenness and identity struggles head-on.
Yeah, the sources describe significant identity and race issues within the training, being consistently assigned only black roles or dialects.
Dealing with costumes that didn't fit her body type, feeling pressure to make blackness disappear in her work, she calls it a shameful objective of the training.
It's fascinating how the sources contrast that with her experience visiting Africa, a Mandinka compound specifically. That unapologetic blackness she saw there, the lingen dance, the greeting rituals, felt like this powerful affirmation of her being.
A sense of belonging and cultural depth that was actually being suppressed back at acting school.
Thankfully, she did find some validation at Juilliard from Laurie Carter, the dean, who was black. Carter's encouragement, let it rip, speak your mind, that was crucial, affirming her voice in an often hostile environment.
But even graduating from Juilliard, the path wasn't suddenly easy. The sources paint a very clear picture of the harsh realities of the acting business.
Oh yeah. Graduating poor, facing constant rejection, too young, too old, too dark, not sexy enough. Getting auditions, let alone roles, was incredibly hard.
The sources really highlight that gap between the, social media fantasy of being a powerful boss bitch demanding roles and the actual reality for most actors.
Which is constant struggle, needing survival jobs, taking commercials just to get by, maybe get health insurance, makes a pointed comment about privilege in the industry.
And these professional struggles were deeply tied to her personal life and health. She had $56,000 in student debt, serious health issues like fibroids, anemia, alopecia, for years without insurance.
The sources really stress the critical need for comprehensive health care, which was just out of reach for so long.
Juggling those survival jobs while needing time and space to prepare for auditions, doing that work on buses, subways, building stoops. It's a vivid picture of the hustle, the lack of basic support.
And amidst her dating struggles, Michelle O'Neill's comment becomes this pivotal moment. Did you ever think it could be you? When Davis was complaining about frustrating partners.
Right, not accusatory, but a question that made her look inward at her own patterns, how she might be participating in those dynamics.
And then you have this incredible juxtaposition, all that struggle, and then the surreal Italy trip, a gift from George Clooney.
Staying in his 22-room villa on Lake Como, staff, food requests, waiting for the bell. She describes it as this powerful, almost unbelievable symbol of success and access.
A world away from Central Falls, it really underscores the extreme contrasts in her journey.
But stability wasn't just about career success. The sources strongly emphasize her journey to finding love and building a secure partnership.
She was very intentional about it. The sources share her prayer list, specific traits for a partner, big, black, ex-athlete, country, previously married with kids, trusts God, emotionally available, gets the acting world.
Not just a wish list, right? A focused intention.
Exactly. And then she met Julius, who remarkably matched the list. His approach was different. He invited her into his life, showed her where he worked.
Described as a supportive helpmate, calling after an earthquake just to check on her.
Building that new family with Julius, a blended family that felt like her own creation. It allowed her to feel safe, finally less defined only by her childhood trauma. He's described as a protector, an awesome life partner.
And there's that great moment where his directness was key. His blunt,
"Your ass ain't got a job," nudge pushed her towards taking the role in King Henry II, which won her a Tony. A mix of her intention, his practicality, maybe some humor leading to a big breakthrough.
And those breakthroughs started building momentum, booking key roles like Seven Guitars, where she connected deeply with the character's pain.
King Henry II with the Tony win, then Doubt. The sources mention the audition for Doubt, her big hair maybe helping her get the part, and landing that role finally got her health insurance. A tangible, crucial win after years without it.
Success started feeling like a domino effect. It allowed her to help her family financially, send money home.
But the sources reveal a hard lesson there. Money wasn't a magic fix. It didn't solve underlying issues, and sometimes could even hinder accountability.
She also started tackling her own health issues more directly, the fibroids causing constant bleeding.
Leading to the decision for a hysterectomy. And she articulates this powerful shift. She'd mastered hard, now wanted joy.
That defiant energy, even in the operating room, telling the surgeon she'd kick your motherfucking ass if he didn't take the uterus out, it connects right back to that childhood need to master hard things just to survive.
And finding joy through adoption is highlighted as another profound breakthrough. Meeting Genesis at 5 months.
Seeing her smile, feeling her fall asleep in her arms, she describes it as identifying her child, a deep, authentic source of happiness.
Working on the help is presented as really complex, layered. On one hand, the joy with the cast, camaraderie, sharing meals.
But juxtaposed with the incredibly heavy history of the filming locations, Greenwood, Indianola, Baptist-town, the Emmett Till connection.
Yeah, the sources share how Julius actually booby-trapped their hotel door, feeling the weight of that history, shows how palpable the past felt there.
And despite the later controversy around the film, the sources stress the truth she felt compelled to honor. Collaborating with Tate Taylor on her character's monologue about her son, using her own history, the shared history of Black women.
And then landing the lead in How to Get Away with Murder. That's described as seismic.
Going from feeling cursed and invisible in Hollywood to a network TV lead, the sources detail how this role confronted biases about Black women leads, particularly being sexualized, smart, vulnerable, all at once.
Her question became, why not? And she arrived unapologetically, making that key distinction between being sexy, which she felt was often a mask, and being sexualized, embodying her full, complex self, sensuality included, as part of self-actualization.
The sources highlight that scene in HDGAWM with Cicely Tyson as so powerful, Tyson conveying generations of trauma with just a look and a line.
Yeah, that line, it happened to all the women, that's our curse. Embodying profound human experience by drawing on personal and collective truth.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into these powerful excerpts from Finding Me, the journey clearly continues. It's this ongoing process of navigating memory, love, and self.
The sources circle back to that hero's journey idea. Her life mirroring that pattern, starting where she didn't fit, transforming, finding her elixir in her authentic self, and returning transformed.
And there's that really powerful moment revisiting the therapist's point. The 8-year-old wasn't defeated, she survived. She describes holding that younger self now, recognizing her resilience.
Right, that part of her that now says essentially, don't worry, I'm here to beat anybody's ass who messes with our joy. It's fantastic.
Memory is acknowledged as this powerful force, hardship and success, joy. The sources, quote Oprah, dwell on what you want to become, choosing focus while integrating the past.
And her understanding of love is redefined through her partnership with Julius, using that Toni Morrison quote. Love is only as good as the person, wanting someone to roll with, navigate everything together, seeing that in her parents' later years.
The core insight, the one she keeps returning to, is just so powerful. You cannot create in art or life without using you.
All of it. The pain, trauma, mess, humor, joy, it's all part of the story you bring. Embodying others comes from living your own life deeply, honestly.
So what can we really take away from this deep dive? These excerpts from Finding Me, they reveal a journey of extraordinary depth. We've seen intense childhood trauma, fierce resilience just to survive.
That persistent battle for identity and space, finding validation, finding love, and ultimately harnessing her entire raw personal history to fuel her art, her sense of self, her joy.
It really reinforces that idea that survival isn't passive. It's active, it's tough, it forges strength.
Exactly. And healing isn't about erasing the past, but integrating it, understanding its impact, and consciously choosing to use it as a source of empathy, depth, and power.
Which brings us to a question for you, the listener, reflecting on this incredible journey. How does your own history and all its complexity, the challenges, the pain, the humor, the joy, how does it shape the person you are becoming right now?
Are you letting all parts of it fuel your own unique journey? Or is there maybe a part of your story that you're still running from instead of harnessing its power?